Hey, welcome to Subspace Transmissions. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Cam.
Cam, on the latest podcast, we delved into Scorpion Parts 1 and 2, one of the big go-to episodes for Star Trek Voyager, and it got
the biggest, maybe?
It could be, and I think that maybe brings up a lot of conversation that we had over Next Generation, and what could be argued one of its biggest episodes. Of course, Best of Both Worlds, both of which featured, I don't think it's any coincidence, the Borg in explosive two-parters.
You want ratings? You go to the Borg.
Well, and did it work? Like, do you think fans really clawed on to Scorpion the same way that they did with Best of Both Worlds?
I mean, maybe not to the extreme of Best of Both Worlds, which
like the
was
pop culture
massive,
sort of penetration that maybe Best of Both Worlds had.
Yes.
Wasn't quite there for Scorpion.
No. I mean, you can't replicate that sort of phenomenon, but it was definitely loved, and people still talk about Scorpion very, very favorably.
Well, one thing that we do touch on here is, I guess, the difference between the two cliffhangers. And I really do love the Best of Both Worlds cliffhanger, and that we end it with Riker calling fire.
Right.
And
there's no more badass moment in the history of Star Trek, maybe.
It's a great cinematic moment, but it also has a lot of emotional connections. It's all based on kind of character conflict, where Riker has to make a decision about the future of his own, commanding officer at this point. How does Scorpion exactly leave off, Cam, when we go from part 1 to part 2?
With a Borg cube on the run, hauling Voyager behind.
Yeah, and so at any point, were you fearful that Voyager would, actually be destroyed by the oncoming threat of Species 8472?
I would say yes, but I thought the banjo music was very inappropriate.
Fair enough, no.
No, I never thought they were going to be destroyed, but I thought the cube might be.
Okay,
but that's not really worth anything.
That's just does that make for a good cliffhanger?
Not really.
Yeah, so that's I think one of the biggest gulfs between those two episodes. But I'll say this. I would say that overall, Scorpion Parts 1 and 2 is a more consistent sort of feature presentation than Best of Both Worlds Parts 1 and 2. Can you maybe expand on that?
Yeah, I think Part 1 of Best of Both Worlds is top-notch Star Trek. I think as a Riker story, it's maybe his best. It's definitely up there. Just fantastic drama between him and Shelby, and just all of the character stuff in that episode is just TNG firing on all cylinders. Part 2, not bad. Wraps up the story, but it's not. It doesn't hit the creative heights of Part 1. It's not even really trying to, because it's not character-based.
Yeah.
It's plot-based.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of people enjoy the plots of TNG over, say, the character drama. I'm not one of those people.
And whereas we see Scorpion, and Part 1 is very much a Janeway story, and Part 2 is very much a Chakotay story, and we're actually exploring both sides of their respective arguments with whether or not this alliance with the Borg is actually going to be viable for the ship and the safety of the crew here. And it actually makes damn fine entertainment when we see this conflict between these two people in a way that I really don't think that they went down to that well nearly enough times with regards to the dynamic between Janeway and Chakotay.
Equinox is the only one that jumps to mind, really. No, what I really like too is that in Part 1 of Scorpion, you have the scene of Janeway and Chakotay in her ready room talking about just their working together and how important they are to each other. It's essentially setting up this kind of two-hander, two-parter where the baton is passed from Part 1 to Part 2 from Janeway to Chakotay, and then they're unified again at the end. It's really an elegant storytelling device that is lost in something in Best of Both Worlds, where Part 2 is very much written after the success of Part 1 as kind of how do we end this now? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Scorpion feels like a very cohesive story.
So why don't we delve into the introduction of 7 of 9? She makes pretty much one of the most explosive sort of entrances you can get for a main character here.
She was squibbed. Yep.
She literally has tubes bursting out of her chest. She gets a hero shot, and she makes her presence well known, just setting up natural conflict between a Borg drone who's going to be disconnected very soon by the end of the episode from the collective, and this crew of Starfleet who would not exactly appreciate getting assimilated themselves.
Right, yeah, I think 7 of 9 is a character that made so much sense to add. I mean, a Borg on the ship, cha-ching. That is, I'm sure Star Trek was just we need to do this now and as soon as possible. I'm actually kind of shocked they didn't somehow just desperately try to get a Borg onto Deep Space Nine in some way.
Yeah. His name was the charisma known as Vedic Virile.
He was definitely drained of it.